Hello everybody, Gisele Grenier here. In this video, I want to do a different take on something I already created. This little beautiful little artist trading card that I created. I want to do a take on this onto a larger piece. Because I got over the last few years that a lot of you like the designs of the artist trading cards, but you don't want to do the actual trading card itself. And the most common thing is that you're having a hard time visualizing what it could look like being bigger. So I'm going to basically take the similar components to this and create something much bigger. What you make it on doesn't matter. It could be a canvas, a piece of wood. I'm just using corrugated cardboard because I love the look of this. My mistake though with this one is I cut it with the lines going this way, which gives it an easier chance to bend like that. Okay, ideally you want it this way, like that. So I'm going to take a chance, and I left the backing on that. It was some Tyranny syrup that I bought. So the packaging is actually quite good, which is why I didn't tear a lot of the paper off. Okay, so you just need something that's, about that size. Doesn't matter. And then what I did, I grabbed a few pieces. I grabbed this plate. This is chipboard plate, and you can print something. It's just for the text to go on. And if you want to grab some nice text, you can search online for quotes, mixed media quotes and stuff like that, or just go onto your computer and just print a whole bunch of words. And you can, there's a font. Just do a search for free typewriter fonts, and that you can use that. And you can, it's going to go on the book plate or the plate, and then I've got these little brads that are going to go in here. But if you don't have brads, you can fill that in with, let's say, something like Decor Matte Metallics Age Bronze, whatever you want. I'm not going to need that because I'm going to use the plate. I got some tickets. I think that, don't ask me where half the stuff comes from, because I bought so much stuff at a scrapbooking place. Where's the other little dot? That was down the street, and they went out of business. So I bought a lot of stuff, clearance stuff there, and a lot of it was a whole bunch of stuff in bags. So I have no idea where half this stuff came from. I think this is from a stamp, but again, it's just tickets. So a lot of this stuff here, like, not exact, but similar. Go to graphicsfairy.com. She's got the most amazing printables, all different categories, vintage, holidays, amazing. What I wanted to do with a lot of the stuff is I wanted it black and white because I want to stain it. With a lot of the stuff, they come this color, it's kind of hard to tint it to a different color. So I love stuff when it's black and white. So I've got that. I've got this ticket here. Now, if you don't like what's on here, you turn it around and you stamp over top of that. Okay, and then this is from, I think, some Tim Holtz ephemera package, and then lady with some flowers. I actually wanted to do the flowers here, like actual flowers, but they were too big. I couldn't get anything that small. Okay, so that takes care of all the little bits that are going to go on here. Oh, and I also have printed tissue. Now, I made this myself. I just took random stamps, and I used, to make it permanent, stays on ink, okay, and then I just stamped over tissue paper. This is the stuff that I picked up at the dollar store for gift bags, because when you put it on and put it on with matte medium, it becomes transparent. So just some random, and I'm just going to tear some pieces to go in the background, because when you're working with stuff that's textured, when you're stamping, you're not going to get a full complete image. But for this, it's fine. For paints, what I'm going to be using is the Deco Art Chalky Gesso. It comes in a big container. I put it into a smaller one so it's easier to manage. For gluing, Deco Art Medium Matte Medium. For the paints, Deco Art Media Fluid Acrylics Titanium White, Raw Umber, Quinacridone Burnt Orange, Transparent Yellow Iron Oxide, Transparent Red Iron Oxide. Not sure if I'm going to need these. Not sure. And then Deco Art Extreme Sheen Tin. And Deco Art Vintage Effect Wash, black and white. Now, if you don't have these, the fluid acrylics, black and white, will work. You just have to add a little bit more water to that. And for the tin, that's just to make this look like it's metal. Okay, so that's it. All if I bring out additional products, I'll call them out. But right now, I want to move all this stuff aside and get the stuff that I don't like doing out of the way, which is basically priming and waiting for it to dry. All right, so I'm going to take some of the gesso and I'm going to put this on, and what it's going to do is prep the cardboard for additional product. Also gives it strength, because the fluid acrylics are so fluid that the cardboard would just suck up all the paint, and you're not going to have the crisp color because the brown would actually show through. By using white gesso or black gesso is much easier depending on what you're working with. You're going to create what's called a barrier layer, and that barrier layer is going to allow the colors to really be vibrant. So if you're a girl and you wear makeup, some of you may use primer, like eyeshadow primer. It's the same thing. With eyeshadow primer, it helps the eyeshadow stick, and the colors are more vibrant. It also helps camouflage any imperfections in the cardboard, but for this purpose, it doesn't matter. We actually want imperfections, which is why I tore a lot of the stuff. And I'm using a small brush to control the amount that I'm putting on, making sure I can get into the nooks and crannies. But if I miss some parts, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Doing stuff like this, it makes it so unique. And mix some stuff up, like, use stuff from, like they say, the embellishments. If you don't have much, go to Graphics Fairy. Do some searching online for free printables. Just double check to make sure, especially if you're going to be selling these, check their licenses to make sure you can use it for commercial purposes. Same thing with fonts. If you download, like say, the typewriter font like this, if you need to download one, make sure you can use it for commercial purposes. Go to places like freefont.com or use Google Fonts. You won't go wrong with Google Fonts. I'm trying to think of that typewriter font that I have. I have about 6 on my computer. I can't remember the name of it. Okay, so that's it for the gesso. And I'm going to put that aside to dry. And when especially with stuff like this, if you're going to be selling them, do it in batches to get the best use out of your time. And that way you'll make a lot more money, profit-wise. Because your time is also worth money, but if you're making them as one-offs, that's... Although it's nice because it's more unique, but by using different elements in that, the technique is the same. Prime, color, collage, glue type of thing. So you can do more than one at a time. Now this one here, oops, I didn't gesso this one. I'm just going to go on here. This one's easier to clean. I'm going to gesso this, and this is just chipboard, which is a fancy name for press. It's like a press paper. So that's that. And you can, again, I don't know where you are in the world, so that's why I refer a lot of stuff to Amazon, because that's a universal place. But if you have local stores, or you can buy stuff online locally, or other stuff, just go ahead. But that's just why I refer to Amazon, because it's more universal. And up here where I am in Canada, Michael's is the only place I have to shop at, and they carry very little of this stuff now. I haven't been there. I had not been there for the pandemic, and we went there last weekend. I went, okay, good luck me finding this stuff. So a lot of it now, I'm DIYing myself. Okay, so that's covered. And I am going to use the tag the way it is. Okay, that is it for the gesso, I believe. Okay, what's next? I want to make sure I do everything. Sorry. Let me do, or what am I looking for? Paint. Okay, let's do transparent yellow iron oxide first. I'm trying to get as many steps done at the same time. Just the tiniest amount. And nope. Sponge. I'm going to need 2. This is just cosmetic sponge, picked up at the dollar store. That's actually pretty good. And I'm going to give this a stain. Now I'm going to apply a layer of transparent yellow iron oxide to the whole piece. I'm going to load the brush first with that. Grab some matte medium. And by using matte medium for this, it just gives it also a little bit of a stronger color and strength, but it also lets me do a little bit more blending. If I just use paint and water, it's going to soak right in. So that's why I like using paint with matte medium on raw paper. And this is just cardstock that I printed this on and then just cut it. Okay, that's that. I'm going to let that dry. And then this limited edition, same thing. There we go. I think I had just enough. Okay, gonna let that dry. I did miss a color. Okay, but that's fine. That's fine. I'll get that out. I'm gonna bring out quinacridone magenta for the flowers. Actually, might as well do that now. Brush. I'm gonna blot the brush. Oops, shake. Tiny dot. Matte medium. And I'm just going to put that on there. This is why I love using prints that are black and white. And then by padding, and irregular, not wiping, is that you'll bring up some areas that are darker and some areas that are lighter, creating that texture. But that's why I love using the matte medium, because you can really thin down the paint, but it's not going to sink into your piece. And this beautiful woman here, what I would like to do with her is I'm going to use quinacridone burnt orange. This is going to be even a smaller dot. I'm actually going to see if I can grab it just on the brush. Very, 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 whoops, very little. With matte medium. I'm just doing a light stain. Yeah. Just a light stain. Now with a lot of the stuff, especially like Graphics Fairy, and her stuff is just stunning. You can get stuff with different themes on there. There's a lot of different themes, theme stuff, because she's got everything into categories. And no, I don't make any money for mentioning her site. I know I mention her site a lot because she's got some beautiful pieces on there. She does have a membership for premium stuff, but even her free stuff is stunning. And then if you want something specific, then you can go to online stores to look for stuff. All right. And the matte medium also gets rid of any shine. That's gorgeous. Okay, dry. Next, the book plate. I keep calling it a book plate. All right. And let's just get... Now the plate is going to be done in 3 steps. First, we're going to paint with the the Extreme Sheen dot. Oh, maybe a bit more. So the Extreme Sheen Tin. And then that's going to dry, and then I'm going to overlay the DecoArt Vintage Effect Black, and then a little bit of white. And I use these because they're the perfect level of translucency. Just love what it does. Okay, book plate. Make sure you don't have any white paint or white gesso in your brush, because that'll affect the end color. Now, if we had left this with the chipboard, the raw chipboard, it would just sink in and it wouldn't be as silver as it is now, as the tin color. But even with this, I'm going to be putting 2 layers of paint. I'm going to get my heat gun to speed up the drying time. Just make sure it doesn't get too hot, otherwise it'll bubble. Sometimes there's a time and place for the bubble effect, like when you want to burn it. This isn't one of them. And it's gonna make sure I get everything. There's a piece of paper. There we go. It doesn't have to be perfect. Done. So I wasted all that paint. All right, so I'm going to dry that again. Come on. Get on that hook. Okay, that. Okay, and rinse the brush, and I'm going to grab a little bit of matte medium with a little bit of the Vintage Effect Black. And we're just going to knock that down. See, that was too much. Let's just knock that down a little bit more. And irregular patterns, so we can put on a few strips, let it dry, apply it again, so you're getting that nice look there. Now, I will tell you that it does take longer to dry if you're using the matte medium. If you're using just water, that works well. Okay, come back in with a little bit more black. Okay, that edge there isn't dry enough. See, just by, remember that you're putting paper on here, so don't worry too much about the perfect finish there, because that is going to go on there. And I'm thinking I'm not even going to need to use the white. I'm not even going to need to use that. But what we are going to do, let me just pick this up. Oh, those baby wipes. I think I'm at the bottom of the pile because they're so wet. Going to grab cosmetic sponge into black. And I'm just going to go over. So you can see I put it on and went too close to the front. I can just take my finger, wipe it off, because the matte medium is part of that color. And this just helps frame the words. You don't have to. And also, if you're using Distress ink, I don't know if they have it available. Just be careful that stuff's not waterproof. That's why I use paint. So just be careful when if you do use that and you put more stuff on top. Okay, I'm just going to grab some more of the black and just work the outside edge. And make sure this is 100% dry before you do this. It's still a little bit tacky. Look at that. I love that. Okay, dry. And while we're here, I'm going to go in that same black, vintage effect. I'm going to work this edge. And then I'm going to bring that, I'm going to go over a little bit on the corners. Whoopsie, you know what I just did? I forgot to clean that up. Now I've got metallic paint on here. No biggie. See? No biggie. I'm not going to worry about it. That's that. And I'm going to need some more. Actually, I'm going to grab some raw umber. I'm just going to go right into this with the same sponge. And the raw umber will be a little softer. It's going to touch. Now, for this color here, what I could do is I could also touch into the quinacridone magenta with a little bit of the raw umber. And yeah, and it's going to be like a deeper, duller color of that version of that. And just really frames it nicely. And what to do is practice. See how I was just able to wipe that off because the matte medium on there. Just practice with some of the colors, you know, to find out what works for you. Because you may like one way and I may like another way. And I'm actually going to take this and go over here. And it's going to tie the color of the flowers into the ticket. Just with the edge, not a lot. Try not to press too hard. Okay. Try to think of what else. Oh, then I'm going to do this one too. Same thing with the quinacridone magenta and a little bit of the raw umber. Yeah, that is really nice. Now that's a little bit of a challenge right here. Now I'm doing this on raw paper. So if I go over too far, it's not going to come off as well. That's why I'm using my hands. I shouldn't do that. I find that, you know, when I'm working with doing art stuff, I find that if I wear gloves, I kind of feel disconnected from the artwork. It's like I want to get paint on me. It just feels right. Okay, this thing here now. I'm going to use this little tool because I cut myself last week with the X-Acto knife, and this is just basically, what is this? This is a Tim Holtz thing. What it does is it roughs up the edges. But using an X-Acto knife does the exact same thing. I just don't want to listen to Joe because he keeps telling me I'm impatient and I rush. Especially with this stuff here because it's so thick. Now, if you happen to buy stuff on like die cuts and that are and they're too shiny, apply a layer of matte medium onto them and that'll get rid of the shine. That's one of the things with a lot of the Tim Holtz cutouts is that the ephemera packs and the paper dolls and all that stuff, they're super shiny. So you can or even just spray if you have access to the spray, just spray a matte varnish on it. But the matte medium is just as good. And this thing here, I should have wore a mask because this is really, really. It's very fibery. Okay, matte medium over the whole thing. Because this is, I want to, when I put the color on, I want to be able to wipe it off. And by doing this, it'll let me do that. Plus, I also want to kind of further support the edges to make them a little bit stronger. Matte, medium, and gesso, your best friends if you're into mixed media. Once this is dry, I'm going to stain the outside edge. Now, if you're a fuss pot about the brush strokes like that, if you see that, just apply a few layers and just, you know, alternate and take your time doing that, or use a spray. But I'm fine with that. And I think now we are ready. So I'm going to put this aside, let that dry. You know what? Let me just dry this. Normally I would just let it air dry, but I'm on a roll. And I'm going to use the transparent red iron oxide in the dirty sponge. And by doing this part here where it's really dark, that's where the paper tore a little bit, which is fine. But because I have the matte medium on there, thinking it's dry, if I happen to get paint on here, I can easily wipe it off. And you can accent these things here with, you know, buttons and other stuff like that. I have a button I'm going to be putting on here. I'm just going to blot that on a paper towel, and I'm just going to lightly, just going to randomly work the edges. I'm looking for imperfections. I don't want to make it perfect. And to do this, this is where that matte medium really comes in handy. If it's that glossy finish, it has a tendency to just slip and slide. So with the matte medium on this, it just helps. Matte medium that's dry, it just helps create a little bit of tooth for the paint. And these little cosmetic sponges are nice because you can cut them into smaller sizes. There we go. Lovely. And no, I'm not going to, well, you know what? Nope, I'm not going to use the white, because normally I would put the white on there to dull down some of the shine. I'm going to do that anyways, because I can always wipe it off. I'm not going to use matte medium. I'm going to use washy white. And let's just drip that. I'm going to see what I can get out of that. I'm going to let that sit for a little bit. Let it evaporate on its own. Are we done with paint? I believe we're done. Oh, yep. Nope. This. While I've got the sponge here, I'm just going to hit the edges here. Because normally I do this at the very end, but with the cardboard, what I found with the other one is that sometimes it needs a couple of extra layers. So I'll do this and then I'll come back. Oh, I already bent it, look. So if I was going to be doing a swap with this, I'd put a harder paper on that to reinforce it. But I'm hoping that this stuff will be enough. And my table is not level, so that's why everything's kind of pooling. Let's see. Let's apply some color onto this. Let's grab some raw umber, and I am going to use the white now. And I'm just going to use the actual Vintage Effect white. Let's see if it works with that. Yeah, that'll actually work. I'm going to grab a sponge to do this. Now, this paint is sticking right to the gesso. If you want it to have more movement, then what to do is matte medium on here first. I'm going to get the actual fluid acrylics. It just depends. The chalky gesso really has some good grit to it. Get a little bit more raw umber. And once you put that initial layer down, and then everything starts to, the next layer becomes a little bit easier because it's paint and not cardboard, or gesso, I should say. See? I want to make that just a little bit darker on some spots. Right now, I'm not quite sure, and I don't even remember what's going to be showing. So I can always adjust it at the end. I know I do want to finish the edges with transparent red iron oxide. I should have did this. Oopsie. And all this poopy stuff that I'm forgetting to do, I'm not going to edit that out because this is real life. This is real life. Not gonna fake it. More raw umber. As things dry. And this is going to be completely dependent on what you want to see. All right. That has to dry before I do anything else, but what I can do is start gluing the other stuff together. So we're going to take oopsie. Oh, let me just see if I can hit this with a heat gun just to see if we can get some of that white to stay there. And then I'll blot it off. So it just knocked it down just a little bit. Just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue the quote on there and then get the brads on there as well. So for this, and if you haven't already, finish your edges. So I'm going to put the matte medium on there. Then the matte medium on the back side. This will help position everything. If you only put the matte medium on one side, only on one piece, you may not be able to move the stuff around. Right to the very edge. Ooh, boy, that's cutting it close. And just going to push that. Go. Beauty. Okay. And then the brads, which are where? Now I can cut these off and then just glue them, but these are really small. I don't know if they're going to stay in the hole. Okay, I'm going to slightly open them. Now this is going to be fussy for me because I can't see. I haven't got my new glasses yet. Bend it on one side, bend it on the other side, just kind of move it out of the way, like that. Then when I glue it down, I'm going to make sure I put some matte medium there. Oh my God. Okay, sorry, I gotta... How many of you have to... take your glasses off to see when you're creating? My eye doctor told me not to do that when I get the new glasses. He said, don't do that. I'm going to have one set of bifocals for driving, one set of bifocals for the studio and computer work, and one set of bifocals for... Sorry, one set of bifocals for driving and... I was going to say drinking and driving. One set of bifocals for driving and distance, and the other set of bifocals for studio and computer work. You think that's bad? Joe, he's near visioned in one eye and nearsighted in one eye and farsighted in the other eye. So one set of lenses is like this thick and the other lenses are like this. It's funny. All right, so that's done. And I'm just going to hit this very quickly with the heat gun. And I believe now all we have to do is glue everything together. So let's start with, you know what? Let me dry fit this first. All right, so this is about what we're looking at. Something like that. Now I have to decide, do I want this to overlap or do I want it to be below? That's something that only you can decide. Then the flowers, and then the button. Okay, so now I just have to decide, do I want it like this or do I want it independent? I think I want it overlapped, so which means I'm going to bring her down a little bit more. Okay, so this goes on first. And I'm going to be getting into the habit of applying matte medium to the entire piece every single time. Because like I said before, what it's doing is it's creating extra strength. Especially now that I kind of bent it. But I'm hoping that these pieces here will create extra strength. You could also, when printing your stuff, you can also print it on cardstock. Yeah, that's good. You can also print it on cardstock. So I'm just going to press, more matte medium. Now the more matte medium that you add, it is going to take a little bit longer to dry, but it will be strong. And all you have to do is, as long as your brush is loaded with matte medium, you press, and what I'm doing is just making contact with this label or this piece of paper to the cardstock. I'm not pressing so hard that I'm bending the cardboard, but what's happening is after a few seconds, the actual matte medium that's underneath will be tacky and hold it down. Yep, that's good. And now I'm going to take this one. Actually, I'm going to put the lady down first. Oh, I forgot to put the tissue down. Ah. Oh well. Not going to use the tissue. I was supposed to put that before the tag. Oh well. Oh well. And I want to overlap her on a slight angle. I'm going to put her there. I'm not going to push it down yet because I need to know where this is going to go. Right there. Bring her up just a little bit. There. All right. I'm going to have to put a little bit more underneath her head. I'm going to put a little bit more underneath here. And just basically repeat the same thing. Just here made contact right away, but here, because it's a cardboard, I'm just going to have to keep pressing and pressing until it gets tacky and where she sticks to the cardboard ridges. Let's put more matte medium there. Actually, you know what? Let me see what I can do. I like this one. Like that, but that's not going to be able to show much. Nah. Okay, I was kind of hoping to use that. but cut it really small. I can put it right there. I am going to have the ticket there. Let's see. I'm going to fold that one over. Actually, I'm going to cut it, not fold it over. Okay. Yep, she's all tacky now. That just sounds wrong. And I think I better just position that. Make sure that everything's going where we want it to go. And then the button. Okay, the button, I matched it closely to the dark color in the tag or in the label, whatever this thing is. Okay, just going to drop that down. That's going to be a little bit higher up. So let me just get this positioned. Like that. Whoops. A bit higher. This one here wasn't really what I wanted to use. It wasn't exactly what I wanted to use. But it was all I had. Where's the stem? I would like to have cut her hand to put the hand around the flowers. I am not that talented. I bow to you guys who can do fussy cutting like there's no tomorrow. I tried. Oh, I don't have the patience for that. That's why a lot of this stuff, when I buy it, like the stuff on Amazon, where it's already cut out. I am experimenting though with my scan and cut for cutting out printables. The thing is, it's first generation, and I'm looking at a Cricut now to replace the scan and cut. Because the scan and cut, Michaels carries so much stuff for it, and I'm just holding it down now. Michaels carries so much stuff for it, and it's hard enough getting stuff here, and they've always carried Cricut stuff. Let me just, that's going to take a bit. I'm going to get my other no stick mat. I'm just going to push on that so that won't stick to my fingers. Yeah, so I'm going to start with a lot of the printables to cut the stuff out. And yeah, the scan and cut, it's harder and harder to find stuff for that. And like I said, it's first generation. It doesn't do a lot. It does enough, but not you know, not what I want it to do. And there we go. But I know that a lot of you have the Cricut machine, so I'd love to hear more about that. That is crooked, isn't it? There we go. Okay, put a little bit more. Oh, it came up. It came up. That's because I moved it. We'll wipe over that brad. There we go. Okay, so I believe it's safe now to... I've got spots on the bottom. Yay! Where's all that nice text here? What am I going to use? Is this going to be dark enough? Yeah, that's actually quite nice. And I like tearing the tissue because that way, especially when showing you guys how to do this, some of you are, well, you're always going to be using different stuff than I am. And where's the right side? This one. And, you know, with telling you right up front, okay, tear the tissue. Because if you use stuff that's more opaque, at least it'll look a little more natural than some hard line. I want to stamp side this side here. It's also a great way to dull down color without having to paint over it. Okay, when that dries, it's going to be translucent, not pure transparent. And if it's wet, it tears really easily. Perfect. This one's ready to go too. Nice. I'm going to give one more coat of matte medium over everything. And this time though, I'm going to come around, and where I'm brushing, you can see that the matte medium is building up along the edges. I'll come around and I'll just blot. And I'll just take the excess and put it in other areas of the tag. Or I keep calling it a tag. The artwork. I just don't want any pooling, because with a matte medium, although it does dry clear, if it's too much, you'll have a white haze. Even the buttons a little much. Okay, the only thing left that I need to do once I clean that up is to basically create the vintage effect on the edge, which already has it. It's pretty good. I just want to make it a little bit darker, and then she'll be finished. Okay, so what I decided to do is, while everything was still damp, transparent red iron oxide and going over, because I can apply that and really fuzz that out. Just applying with one side and choosing the other side to blend it. And you don't have to do this. You can use a stamp pad. You can do whatever you want. Just want to make sure I don't cover her at all. And because transparent red iron oxide is just that, transparent, everything that's underneath will still show through. Okay. There we go. Now, if you find that that white is just too strong, I can go in with a sponge, do that with a brush instead, with a very, very, very thin wash of transparent red iron oxide, and just apply a little bit of color inside. Very, very washy. You can always add more, but it's much harder to take away. That white was just a little strong for a contrast. Yeah, that's nice. Oops, I think I picked up some of the white, because that's no longer... Oopsie. That's not transparent anymore. Okay, so I'm just going to leave it like that. Now I'm going to grab the heat gun and just give it one quick blast. And then this is going to sit for a little while to fully dry. And that's basically it, you guys. That's all that's involved with, creating a different version, a different take on the mixed media piece that I did of the little girl. And try to, if you can, try to look at it as just, not as an artist traded card, not as a tag, not as a bookmark, but just a piece of artwork that's a certain size. Okay, that way you kind of get away from the mentality of, oh, I've never created an artist trading card before. And all you're doing is creating miniature art that's different sizes. Okay, that's all really you're doing. It's different sized art. Now, the other thing you can do is say, well, what can I do with this? You know, especially these ones here, you can use that as front faces. So let me, I don't have anything handy except this, which is for another project. So picture this as an actual greeting card. You can, you would have, that would be scrapbook paper or whatever, but you can make that as part of the front of the greeting card. Well, actually, I wonder if I can use this. This is scrapbook paper that I had. And look at that. Okay, same thing with this. If it was a big greeting card, you could put this as the front. Your card would have to be very strong paper in order to hold this. But if it, when doing this, if you did this just on cardstock or watercolor paper, then you could glue that onto a greeting card and it will hold it just fine. But this would be, a nice little thing for an actual greeting card or to add on to other mixed media pieces. So what I've done in the past is, I've made a whole bunch of stuff, not really to do anything with it as is, but to use it as embellishments for other artwork. Because it just helps and you can take this and it can inspire you to create something around it and this goes on top. Just an idea to contemplate. All right. So that's it, you guys. So let me know what you think. If you've ever worked on cardboard before, or if you'd like to explore something else to work on, but what I'd love to see, and you can't do it on YouTube, you can on Facebook, is on the actual Facebook channel, a Facebook page, is to post pictures of your version of this. Okay, so you can, like I said, you can get free digital prints at graphicsfairy.com and just cut them out. And everything that I used here, although a lot of it is commercially purchased, you can find substitutes very easily. You just have to do a little bit of use a little bit of elbow grease just to print them, cut them out, and all that other stuff. But I'd love to see your take on this. So let me know in the comments below if you've done a version like this, or send it to me by email at artplace.ca and click the contact link, and I read every comment and answer every email. All right, so until I see you in the next lesson, stay inspired.